The film begins by introducing Mason, the main character, who is a dedicated Army officer sharing his story. He talks about his achievements, being the top performer in various aspects of life, and serving the country for several years. Mason proudly mentions his role as the best officer in his team and how he worked hard to earn that title. Eventually, he marries a friend he likes, and they have a daughter. However, the plot takes a turn when Mason and his team embark on a mission to eliminate the president of another country named John. The mission goes awry when their helicopter is attacked during descent, resulting in its destruction and the loss of all Mason's comrades. Although Mason survives the incident, he is deeply affected and now battles depression, struggling to find purpose in life. The film portrays Mason sharing his experiences with a somber expression, reflecting on his Army memorabilia. In the meantime, Mason reconnects with his wife and now grown daughter before heading to his office. On the way, he drops off his daughter at school. At work, a man approaches him with a case involving marital issues, seeking Mason's legal expertise to resolve the conflicts with his wife. Despite his professional success as a lawyer, Mason remains dissatisfied, sitting with a heavy heart, reminiscing about his days in the Army. During this time, an old Army buddy and close friend pays Mason a visit. They share a warm reunion, reminiscing about their time together in the military. Mason's friend reveals that he has established a security agency and invites Mason to join him. He explains that the agency provides security services globally and has a special task at hand. When Mason inquires about the mission, his friend discloses that a reporter is scheduled to interview President John in another country and he needs Mason to act as the reporter's guard. However, Mason hesitates and refuses, stating his reluctance to take on the assignment. Undeterred, his friend offers him a substantial incentive of $20,000 in return for his participation. Mason is assured it's a short assignment, just a day away, and he needs to be back for the interview's conclusion. While watching President John's interview on TV, where he vows to eliminate troublemakers in his country, Mason questions whether they'll have to take action against him. His companion reassures him, emphasizing that it's just an interview and he should not dwell on past grievances. Mason reluctantly agrees, acknowledging that work is work, but he's curious about who he'll be accompanying. His companion reveals that he'll be guarding a well-known female reporter. The scene shifts to the reporter receiving an award, but the following day, she faces heavy criticism on social media for supposedly distorting facts in her reports. Mason, observing this unfolding controversy, gets ready to leave for his security duty. As he prepares to depart, his wife, noticing his changed demeanor and emotional distance, questions his sudden departure. Expressing her sadness over his altered behavior and lack of time for their family, she pleads for him to reconsider and return to being the person he was before. Mason departs for the mission and meets the female reporter. While seated on the plane, he watches some of her interviews, finding them entertaining, including a few humorous moments. Engrossed in the footage, Mason is surprised when the reporter approaches him and playfully questions if he's spying on her. He quickly assures her that he's merely observing her work, interested in seeing how she operates. The reporter dismisses his explanation, stating that her fame stems from conducting numerous interviews and presenting both right and wrong to the world. Upon reaching their destination, President John warmly greets the reporter and Mason. During the car ride, President John boasts about the immense love the city's people have for him. The conversation between John and the reporter continues, but Mason starts feeling bored. Suddenly, a series of explosions rock the surroundings. John's security convoy is targeted, causing chaos as cars fly through the air and explosions claim the lives of many of John's companions. Panic ensues, and Mason, witnessing the devastation, is left in a state of shock and numbness. Amidst the chaos, armed assailants appear and open fire. Mason swiftly takes control, moving to the driver's seat and instructing the reporter to take cover in the back. He skillfully maneuvers the car, engaging the attackers and effectively neutralizing many of them. In a daring move, he collides with another vehicle, causing the assailants inside to be fatally injured in the crash. After eliminating the threat, they exit the car. Both President John and the reporter are stunned by Mason's combat prowess. John commends Mason's bravery, acknowledging his ability to single-handedly overpower a substantial enemy force. Despite the praise, Mason remains focused on the urgency of the situation, urging them to leave quickly. He confronts John about the potential involvement of his associate in the attack. The reporter, sensing an opportunity for a groundbreaking story, expresses excitement about covering the aftermath of the president's attack. Mason, prioritizing their escape, emphasizes the need to flee before considering interviews. They proceed on foot, making their way into the forest. Mason contacts his companion, informing them of the attack and their current predicament, seeking assistance while stranded in the forest. Mason informs his companion that all of John's team members accompanying them have been eliminated. Shocked by this revelation, the companion promises to dispatch their team for assistance. As Mason hands over the phone to Jason, they witness John's nephew preparing himself, believing that John might have been killed in the attack and getting ready to take over his position, seemingly involved in orchestrating the assault. Meanwhile, the general, in charge of the entire army, arrives and praises John's nephew. However, amidst their discussions, John manages to make a call, informing his nephew about his survival and mentioning the presence of a skilled and courageous individual with him. John's nephew, relieved but apprehensive, instructs him to stay put while he organizes his team. The general advises John's nephew not to let this opportunity slip away. On the other side, John informs Mason and the reporter about his nephew dispatching a team to their location and suggests waiting for them. But Mason, distrustful of John's people, refuses to risk staying there and insists on moving forward, disregarding John's suggestion, and continues along with the reporter. As they navigate through the forest, the reporter insists on interviewing John, viewing it as a pivotal moment for her career. Mason, however, warns her about the danger of interacting with John, emphasizing the risk to their lives. Frustrated, the reporter expresses her desperation, feeling that her career is in jeopardy, and argues for the interview as a potential lifeline. Eventually, they encounter a helicopter that lands and begins attacking them. In the ensuing chaos, they flee into the forest. Mason, facing his fears, takes a stand at a vantage point, using a sniper gun to take down the attacking helicopter. Amidst this commotion, a hidden assailant approaches, intending to harm them. Swiftly, Mason subdues and eliminates the attacker, using his combat skills. However, another threat emerges as a goon aims a gun at Mason. Before the assailant can shoot, John intervenes and eliminates the attacker, saving Mason. Perplexed, Mason queries John about the firearm's origin. John reveals that he always carries it for self-protection, explaining its presence. John's nephew arrives at the scene, visibly upset by the damaged helicopter. He is accompanied by the prominent leader of the country's goons, discussing plans to launch another attack against Mason and his group. The goon leader asserts his intention to handle the situation in his own way, expressing disdain for interference and promising to deploy a substantial team for the task. John's nephew reluctantly agrees to the goon leader's plan. Reflecting on recent events, the reporter apologizes to Mason for her earlier outburst, acknowledging his kindness. In response, Mason opens up about his struggles, revealing that he had been in this place before but lost all his comrades there. He expresses the pain of leaving his family behind and feeling misunderstood by them. Despite his deep love and concern for his family, they fail to comprehend his dedication, causing him immense internal conflict and a sense of worthlessness that hampers his ability to focus on his work. The reporter reassures Mason that his companion had spoken highly of him, affirming his kindness and goodness. This acknowledgement brings a sense of comfort to Mason, lifting his spirits. Later, John guides Mason and the reporter to a village where he once resided, greeted warmly by the villagers. After a brief interval, as the interview commences, Mason takes on the role of recording the interaction between the reporter and John. During the interview, the reporter queries John about the substantial attack he faced. John reveals that despite their country's small size, it holds significant resources coveted by other nations. He explains that these valuable resources attract attempts by foreign powers to control their government and exploit their assets. John expresses his sole ambition to safeguard his people and use their resources for the betterment of their nation, resisting external influence. John highlights a particular valuable chemical in their country, essential for manufacturing mobiles, cars, and other electronic devices. He discloses that other countries covet this chemical and are willing to attack to acquire it. He attributes the threats against him to his refusal to comply with their demands, confirming Mason's belief in John's claims. John's companions express their admiration for him, chanting slogans in support of his presidency. Both Mason and the reporter feel a sense of warmth and readiness to assist John in his cause. During the night, John hosts a lively party, ensuring Mason and the reporter have a good time. As the evening progresses, the reporter, after having a few drinks, joins John in dancing, and Mason finds joy in witnessing John's happiness. The following day, Mason confronts his companion over the phone, questioning why he was chosen for this mission when someone else could have been sent. He hints at his capability to end John if he desires. However, his companion dismisses this notion, denying any intention for Mason to harm John. Instead, he reveals receiving orders from influential figures across different countries to send Mason there, highlighting the complexity of the situation. Feeling conflicted, Mason disconnects the call and decides to contact his daughter. Expressing his love and promising a swift return, He assures his daughter that he'll be home soon. Subsequently, he speaks with his wife, expressing gratitude for her care and concern, and she, in turn, urges him to return home swiftly. As Mason approaches John and the reporter, he urges them to leave, sensing imminent danger. However, before they can depart, the goon leader arrives with his henchmen, threatening the villagers and demanding John's whereabouts. Witnessing the brutality, John steps forward, but Mason, concerned for John's safety, swiftly arrives with a horse, urging John to mount and escape. They flee, but the goon leader shoots at them in pursuit. Despite the attack, they manage to break free. However, the goon leader captures the reporter, threatening her with enslavement and expressing his disregard for her fame, stating that her death will erase her existence from memory. Fear grips the reporter as she faces this terrifying situation. Meanwhile, John and Mason continue their conversation, acknowledging that danger seems to follow them wherever they go. John reveals his awareness of his companion's intentions to eliminate him. He then directs them to head straight to his office building. Arriving at a vast city, their destination looms ahead. As they navigate through the challenges, John, Mason, seek solace in a church, offering prayers for guidance. Later, John meets a trusted friend who informs him about his nephew's alignment with the general, having taken over John's office. Determined to reclaim his position and free the reporter, John devises a plan. The next day, Mason confronts the goon leader, demanding the release of the reporter. Tensions escalate as both men aim their guns at each other, prompting Mason to call for John's assistance. Responding swiftly, John arrives with a large group of devoted supporters, causing the goon leader to panic. Amidst the chaos, the reporter seizes a guard's weapon, freeing herself. John, Mason, and the reporter swiftly escape with the support of John's loyal followers. In their journey, John expresses his anticipation, hinting at a significant interview that will take place in his office. Leading them through a hidden passage, John guides them to his office. Inside, they encounter John's nephew, who reacts with fear upon seeing them, visibly shaken by their sudden appearance. In a surprising turn, John attempts to reconcile with his nephew, offering to work together rather than vie for power. This heartfelt gesture prompts his nephew to realize his errors, leading to an emotional reconciliation between them, ending in a sincere embrace. The reporter captures this moment on her phone. However, the situation takes a tragic turn when the general arrives and shoots John. Despite wearing a bulletproof jacket that saves him, the attack angers John's nephew, leading to a violent exchange where both John and his nephew retaliate, resulting in the general's death. Sadly, John's nephew succumbs to the gunfire. As soldiers surround John, pointing their guns at him, John tries to reason with them, reminding them of their duty to protect the country and asserting his role as their president, not their enemy. Meanwhile, the goon leader arrives with his companions. In the midst of the chaos, John manages to persuade the soldiers to recognize the true threat behind them, redirecting their fire towards the goons and the thugs. A fierce battle ensues between the soldiers and the adversaries, resulting in casualties on both sides. Mason, alongside the soldiers, actively engages in combat, using his skills to eliminate the enemies. Amid the skirmish, the goon leader gains the upper hand over Mason, overpowering him and threatening his life with a sharp weapon. Just as the situation seems dire, the reporter intervenes, attacking the goon leader and saving Mason from harm. In the scuffle, the goon leader sustains injuries. Enraged by the attack on Mason, Mason retaliates with determination, grabbing a substantial firearm and swiftly neutralizing the remaining enemies. His courage and boldness leave John and the reporter astonished. The entire intense sequence of events is captured on the reporter's mobile device, documenting Mason's remarkable bravery in the face of danger. Thanks for tuning in, guys.